Break it down.
Hi guys, it's Skater Lewis and this is episode 1 of my 3.55 PS3 tutorials. In this episode I'm going to be showing you how to install a custom firmware onto your 3.55 PS3. To do this you need a PS3 on 3.55 firmware. You cannot jailbreak anything above 3.55, including 4.20. There is only one way that you can jailbreak that, and that is with an E3 flasher. If you buy an E3 flasher, you can downgrade any firmware to 3.55. If you don't have a 3.55 PS3, you can't do this. If you don't know what version your PS3 is on, and you want to check, just head over to your PS3, scroll left until you get to settings, scroll down until you get to system settings, click on that, and then scroll all the way down until you get to system information. When you click on that, it will tell you what firmware you are on. As you can see, mine is on version 3.55. If your version is any higher than this, then you cannot do this and should discontinue with this tutorial. If your PS3 is on 3.55 firmware, go back to your PC. Once you're back at your PC, go to the description in this video and download the 3.55 official firmware and download KMeow's 3.55 custom firmware. As you can see on my desktop, I've got 3.55 official firmware, and this is the firmware that we're going to install on our PS3s now. And the reason we're going to do this is because if you install a custom firmware on top of another custom firmware, your PS3 will most likely break, and you do not want to break your PS3. So we're going to make sure that your PS3 isn't going to break by installing the 3.55 official firmware first. If you wanted to, you could install a custom firmware on top of another custom firmware, but your PS3 is probably going to break, and I'm not responsible for any of your PS3s breaking. If you follow this tutorial correctly, your PS3 will not break. To install this firmware onto your PS3, you're going to want to open your USB device on your computer, make a new folder inside that called PS3, make sure you're using capital letters, then open that folder, and inside that folder you're going to want to make another folder called Update. Make sure these are all in capital letters. Then you need to open that folder and put the PS3 updat.pup inside there. Make sure you don't change this file name. PS3 updat.pup is the correct name. Just drag that into the update folder on your USB device. Once that's done, you should have a folder called PS3, a folder called Update, and inside there the PS3 updat.pup file. Once you've done that, you can take your USB out of your computer and go back to your PS3. When you're back at your PS3, make sure it's on standby, and you want to hold down your finger on the on button until it turns off again. When your PS3 turns off, you want to take your finger off and then put it back on again. You'll hear a single beep and a double beep. When you hear that double beep, you want to take your finger back off. On screen it will now say connect the controller using a USB cable and then press the PS button. So connect your controller and then press the PS button. And on screen it will now come up with a list of 6 things. Restart system, restore default settings, restore file system, rebuild database, restore PS3 system, and system update. You want to choose the system update. When you press that, it will say connect storage media that contains update data of version 3.55 or later, and then press the start and select buttons at the same time. So get your USB and plug it into your PS3, and then wait about 10 seconds, get your controller, and then press the start and select buttons at the same time. On your TV it will then say checking, please wait, and then it'll say preparing to update, do not turn off the system. After preparation has completed, the system will restart automatically. Now you can just leave your PS3 alone and leave your USB in. Once your PS3 has restarted itself, it will then say PS3 system software version 3.55. When you press the PS button on your controller, it will say checking for update data, please wait. Then it will say user agreement, just click the right on the D-pad and skip all of this. And then click accept, and then click X. Whilst it's doing this, you don't want to turn off your PS3 and you don't want to unplug your USB device. Once your PS3 is restarted, you'll be on 3.55 official firmware. You can check this by going to Settings, System Settings and System Information. Now we've got the 3.55 official firmware installed, we can install KMeow's 3.55 custom firmware. Just unplug your USB and go back to your computer. When you're back at your computer and your USB is plugged in, your USB will still have the 3.55 official firmware update inside it. Right click on that and delete it. When you've deleted that, open the folder with KMeow's 3.55 custom firmware inside and drag that onto your USB. Once that's done copying over, you'll have a folder on your USB called PS3 Update, and inside there will be KMeow's 3.55 custom firmware. Now you can unplug your USB and go to your PS3. When you're back at your PS3, we're going to do exactly the same thing we did before. Hold down the power button until it turns off, and then hold it down until you hear one beep and then a double beep. Then connect your controller and choose System Update. Plug your USB in and press Start and Select at the same time. Then leave your PS3 alone until it restarts. When your PS3 restarts itself, it will say PS3 System Software version 3.55 KMeow. When you press the PS button, it will check for the update data. Then it will say User Agreement KMeow's Firmware License Agreement. You don't need to read this, just click right and then click down and then click accept and then click X. Now your PS3 will install KMeow's 3.55 custom firmware. Don't unplug your USB and don't turn off your PS3. It will take a long time, but once it's done installing, your PS3 will then restart itself. Once your PS3 has restarted itself, you'll be on KMeow's version 3.55 custom firmware. As you can see here, it says install package files, and in my next 3.55 tutorial I'm going to be teaching you how to install a package file and what a package file is and does. Please like the video if it helped you out. And if you did manage to install KMeow's custom firmware, let me know in the comments. If you didn't manage to install it, let me know what happened and I'll try and help you out. Make sure to subscribe for more hacks and tutorials.